my Thursday Facebook Live. Thank you for all joining and getting ready to paint with me for about an hour. I got inspiration from a friend, and she does a lot of cards. So we were looking at this wildflower bush that we painted, and her comment to me was, "This is going to make a really cute card." And so with that, she got a 5x7 card, and we painted it again as a card and added some background to it. Really turned out really, really cute. So after we did that and we were getting ready to say goodbye, she goes, "Well, what are you doing on Facebook Live?" And I went, "Oh my gosh, I don't know. I haven't thought of anything yet. I'm getting really stressed because I do not want to cancel. I totally enjoy doing these Facebook Live demos, and I've just met so many nice friends from around the world. I just can't believe you can't believe how much it means to me talking to you every week and going back and forth with your paintings and just interacting together. I just absolutely love it. Can't wait for us to when we can all get together at a convention or a workshop. But that's a side note. But then we get back and she said, "Well, Nancy, just do this. Do this little wildflower bush on a 5x7. I thought, great, excellent idea. Thank you so much. So also in the course of our discussion, I was going to send her some flowers of my backyard because in the summer, my backyard is just loaded with coneflowers. So we were talking about that. So at that night, as I was going through my photos, trying to find a picture for her, I came across my butterfly bush. And as I looked at that, I went, oh my gosh, that is the exact same bush that we painted from Skill Builder 2. So that even got me more excited, more happy about the topic that I was going to do today. So when I turn my camera, I'll show you some pictures, actual pictures from my yard, and how this project would look great when you're painting landscapes, flower gardens. It's just another element that you can add as you're painting your daisies, stock flowers, cone flowers. This would fit in just nicely with that. So that was my inspiration story today. I'm so, again, thankful that when people give me ideas, because I really want to get something that you all want to see, something that's beneficial for your own painting. But I first want to show you the inspiration picture. This is a picture from my backyard, my garden. And we were talking about coneflowers because let me move back. We were painting coneflowers. So that's what I was looking for. And then this is the bush that I found. And it's a butterfly bush in purple. On the other side of my yard, I have magenta. And just not that it's important, but I have a small yard. I'm in a townhouse. So when I say the other side of my yard, it's just across the sidewalk. I have a little walkway right here. But this is the violet pansy color one that we're going to do. And I wasn't really concentrating when I took this picture on the flowers because at the time I was going for the butterflies. In the summer, my two bushes are just absolutely loaded with butterflies. But so that's that picture. Then I also went online to find, a professional picture. This is these little things right here. But this is what it looks like from a professional. So these are the flowers that we're going to paint today. But then these are the leaves. And I was looking at the leaves and it's like, okay, what do they look like? Okay, they look like slider leaves. So guess what? We're going to paint our slider leaves on our bush, thin ones. I also want you to notice on the real picture, it's a real picture or a professional picture. This flower is like on a stalk, but it's not necessarily one bloom per stalk. If you notice right here, there's a little baby one growing. So just keep that in mind as we paint our bush, that these flowers are going to be all over. As you can see on this one, they're coming up this way. I have some down here. This is not like a separate bush. This is all one bush. So it's just that the weight of the flowers push this uh, limb over so that they're coming out this way as well. But they all are on top of like a stalk. But here's a picture of a bigger one right next to this one. And then this stalk right here has two new ones growing after this. So this is what they look like, and this is what we're going to start today. So let me move everything. This is what we're painting today. This is the little 5x7 canvas that I put together. And so we have some sky background, and we have some ground down here, which I'll show you how I did that. But if you notice this bush, I just loaded it with the blooms. And this is really what they look like. You have blooms coming from all sides of this, and some are even falling down like that one picture showed. So here's our project. First thing we're going to do is the background. Okay, the colors I'm going to use for the background is cobalt blue, thicket. These are all multi-surface paints, and I'm going to be using quite a bit of floating medium. The one thing that we wanted on the background was to have this almost like a watercolor effect. And on canvas you could use water, but on a card, water would make your paper start crumbling up, bending. Crumbling is not the right word. Just distorted. It just will start folding up on you. But if you use floating medium, typically that doesn't happen. So I'll get my plate. So on my palette, I'm going to put floating medium. And I don't need a lot of paint for this, so we're just going to do a touch of the cobalt blue. There we go. And then a touch of thicket. Okay. And I'm going to do another puddle of paint because I want one for each color. So I have 2 puddles of floating medium and cobalt blue and thicket. The brush I'm going to use is our 3/4 inch flat. Go pull this up just a smidgen because I want you to see the full canvas as I do this. And I will probably be standing up for these kind of backgrounds. I tend to like to stand up so I can see the full surface from top down, not sideways like we typically see when we're painting. So here's my canvas. I'm going to take my 3/4 inch brush and just a touch of cobalt blue. And in my puddle of paint, and I'm going to use the big puddle on this one, I'm going to start mixing it. This is like what you would do with shadow leaves. So that this is just like making shadow leaves, if you're familiar with that. Shadow leaves are just a lot of floating medium and a little bit of color. So I'll see if that's light enough because I want light. But once I start painting on the surface, it will probably thin out and be okay. If it's too dark, then what I have to do is get more floating medium. Okay, so I'm going to stand up and I'm going to start at the top. And I'm just going to go back and forth, horizontal, back and forth. Because I use so much medium, it's really, really wet. And I do want it a little darker, so I tip my brush back into more cobalt, and I'm going to mix it in with the other floating medium that I had. And can you see how it got darker? So this is what I want. And I'm just going to go back and forth. And then I'm going down the sides of the canvas. I just want some blueness showing there. Is that a word, blueness? Okay, come back. This is really, really wet. And I want it more, I do want to have differences in colors to represent sky and clouds. But before I get to that part, I do want this sort of smoothed out. What I'm doing is I'm very lightly dragging my brush across the surface. I'm just smoothing out these lines. I'll go this way. Now I'm wiping off my brush, and I'm going to go straight into dark blue. And then on the corner of my brush, I'm just going to lightly add some darkness right like that. Wipe off my brush. Then now I'm going to again lightly scrape across. And if this doesn't, if it's too dark, which I think it is, what I'm going to do is go into my clean floating medium just a little bit. And then once I go across here, that's going to take away some of that dark blue. Like that. Okay. I sort of play around with it. So just keep going back and forth. If it doesn't, actually when I'm painting, if it doesn't look like what I want, you can wipe this off very easily. But I really think once this dries, this is going to look good. So I'm going to keep it just like this. Just getting some of that excess off. I'm going to clean off my brush. I'm just going to wipe it. And now I'm going to, now I'm going to get a touch of green and go in. I'm going to get more than a touch because I want the green a little bit darker. And here's my puddle of paint. So my puddle of floating medium. So I'm not going to use the whole puddle. I'm going to go on half, go back and forth. See if that's going to be the color I want. Okay. I'm wiping some of that excess off because it's a little area. And what I'm going to do here, I don't want it smooth like this. I just want it all no shape. So I'm doing our corner back and forth that we do, flip, flop, back and forth. That's what I'm doing down here for the bush. Came out a little bit there. Flip, flop, and I'll probably come up a little bit here, not too much. Okay, so that's how I make this waterish background using floating medium. I'm going to now move this aside and let it dry. And then demo some of the strokes that we're going to do. But I have to tell you, that's going to take forever to dry. So I did one already that's dry that we're going to finish painting on. I'll start off painting the leaves, showing you how I do that. I have my thicket here, and I have my citrus green. Now for the demo, I'm going to use the number 12 brush, just so you can see how I'm painting this. I'm painting the leaves. That's what I'm going to show you right now. Going to double load into thicket and citrus. And I believe we're going to need floating medium today. So here I still have some good floating medium, so I'm going to dip the corner of my brush in there, then come back to my runway and go back and forth. These leaves, I'll get the picture, to me look like very thin slider leaves or angled one-stroke leaves. So either of those type of leaves is how I feel we can paint and still look realistic. Demoing it with a number 12, but when we actually get on the canvas, because we're painting on such a small canvas, 5x7, I'm going to go down to a number 8. But I'll show you that too when I get there. But how do we make a angled one stroke leaf. That the template or the guidelines is 2 to 8, and then I go out to number 2, to clock 2. I don't go out to number 3. For me, I get better success going out to number 2. So painting that would be start at 2 and 8. That's my touch. I push, and then I'm going to follow the 2 o'clock line, and as I move along that 2 o'clock line, I lift up my brush to the chisel edge and pick up. So I'll do it just a little bit faster. 2 and 8, touch, push, and slide to the point. Okay. So on our stem of our butterfly bush, they don't go up, they don't go down, they almost go straight out. So my angle would have to be such that when I do my push, turn, and lift, that I'm going out this way. So I'm going to have my which I call 2 o'clock line, coming out here like it's at 3 o'clock. I want my leaf to touch the stem. So my brush is going to touch like this at a really sharp angle. Let's say like 2.5, 8.5 on the clock. So there's my push, my turn, and I'm going to slide straight out like this. Now, if you notice, I did a little curve also on that. I started at that strong angle, and so as I was moving toward that line, it offered a little curve. I did that because these leaves have that little curve on it. It's the same stroke though. It's our angle stroke, but we're starting at a real slant. So I'm pushing and I'm pulling and I'm turning to our normal guideline, and I just have a slant to my leaf. I push, I turn as I pick up my guide and go to the guide, the brush curves. Let me paint the other side. Same way though. I'll see if I can turn this here for you to see. I start at a sharp angle. I push, I start pulling my brush, and as I'm coming to the chisel edge, it curves down a little bit for me. I need to get some more floating medium, and I just went back and forth on my palette here. So we're at a really sharp angle. We got our push. I'm sliding out. I'm going to my guideline, and I pick up. I push, start sliding along the guideline, turning my brush to the chisel and pick up. So these are just very thin angled leaves, and I got them thin like that because I started at a large slant right here, and then I just picked up and slid out. Okay, so let's go to our project. It's a bush, so all of these, I guess they're stems or branches, they all are in a little small area down here. So with that said, this is going to be my beginning of my bush right here. And I'm going to use Thicket and Citrus, still using those two colors. And since I demoed with my number 12, I'm going to go ahead and use the number 12. And if you look at our sample project, I have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 at the top, sticking out at the top. So to do that, and I'll put this right here so we can see. I'm going to start at the bottom, leading with the citrus green. I'm going to do a chisel edge stroke. That means I'm going to be on my chisel edge, leading with the light green, and use very little pressure. And I'm going to make a stroke, just straight up. I'm moving my whole arm, doing light pressure on the brush. And then I'll start around this area and make one go in this direction, this direction. Don't worry about how you're doing this. We're going to be painting a ton of these leaves and stems. But I did want the tops of these to be where I won't lose them, that I'll see them. And I'll stick that one back there too. Okay, so now I'm just Now I'm just going to add a bunch of little lines. I'm on the chisel edge. If it gets too light, you need to go back and get paint. We always should get more paint. Just doing chisel edge lines. And the reason why I'm doing this, a bunch of lines, I want it to be dense down here. I don't want it to be too see-through. These bushes are very dense. Okay, so I think that looks good right there. Okay. So those are going to be my stems for my bush. So I'm done with the number 12. And now I'm going to go to the number 8 brush. I'm going to this brush because I can do a nice angled one-stroke leaf doing my proper push, turn with this size brush. If I tried to do a nice angled leaf to fit onto this canvas with the number 12, it just would be too big. I tried a number 6. Let me show you what the number 6 looked like. Oh, okay. Yes, we're doing a number 8, so that's right. Okay, I got confused. This is number 8, and that's what we're going to use. Here's number 6. I used the number 6 brush with this one. It just didn't seem as artistic, as loose for what I wanted today. But if you love that look, the little smaller, darker look, this is using the number 6 brush, still on the 5x7 canvas. So we're going to go number 8 though. Let me bring this back. Okay, I added more thicket because I was running out. Double load my number 8 brush. I'm dipping into the 2 corners just like we do and go back and forth. Now with this brush, I'm going to go without floating medium for a little bit and see if that works okay. Now, when you do these leaves, I'm just going to put them wherever the bush is full of leaves. So it doesn't matter that I look at this stem and make sure I got the right amount of leaves or anything. Plus, this is artistic. This is us painting, and we'll never do enough leaves to cover all of these stems. So we're just going to start from the bottom and move up and add leaves. And I want you to see how I'm doing that, because so many times when we start painting, we want to start here and finish up one side, then start here and go up the other side. You know, keeping like a system, so to speak. With this kind of painting, when you try to be loose and you don't want to be strict, you don't want to be within a certain formula. So I'm going to start here at the bottom, and I'm doing my first angled leaf. So my green is touching my stem, and I'm pushing, I'm sliding, and I'm letting it come to a curve. See, I got that little curve here. I'm going to come up here and do another one. Push, turn, and let it curve. I need green. I should have got more paint. Let me restroke that one and then come out. Then over here, I'm going to come back this way. What I'm doing, what I was trying to tell you, I can't think of the word of it right now, but what you do, that's so awful. We got multi-surface paint. So let me get a wet paper towel real fast, and I can just wipe that off. I think I need to concentrate on that word. I can't think. Let me see if anyone knows that word, what I'm trying to think of. Not yet. It'll come to me. So I'm over here. I'm touching, I'm pushing, and then I'm sliding out. And by sliding, it goes to a point. I'm just moving around the project. And gosh, always get more paint. Don't do what I just did. The purpose of moving around is, I think you just get a feel of an overall composition, and you're not keeping within the same colors, because if you just paint in a row, your colors are going to be so similar. But if you paint with a color here, just get a little bit more paint, and paint over here. Those two colors might be similar, where they look the same, but because they're on the different side of the project, it will look okay. It looks like it's nature, that it's not someone painting the same stroke, the same green leaves, just constantly. I'm sure there's an artistic word for that. Art majors probably know. That's what I had been taught when I was taking some of those classes, oil painting classes. You know, when I was painting poppies, for example, paint the poppies all over. Don't just concentrate on one and to paint it at the same time. Just paint over. If you notice, I'm just going through, making left and right. They're all coming out, though somewhat straight. They all have an angle, because these leaves don't fall down. They always are coming out straight. Come out here. And you can put as many as you want, as detailed as you want on your project or on your surface. I'll probably stop about right here. And I'm putting some on the background here, and I'm doing that so when I paint my flower, I can paint on top of green. Now what happens, I'll put a lot back here, and then I will paint my flowers, and then I'll come back and add more leaves. So there, I think that's a good amount to start. And they were all just angled one stroke leaves with a number 8. But because I started at that sharp angle, when I turned it, it automatically gave that little arc right there. And that's exactly what butterfly bushes look like. Let me move that off to the side and demo how to paint the little blossom. And with that, I'm going to use violet pansy. And white. I have titanium white. Still using multi-surface. Okay, the brush I'm going to use though is our small mini scruffy, and it says 1/4 inch. So I'm going to double load, but I'm going to do 2/3 into violet pansy and 1/3 into white. I did this way of double loading because I want to keep a very nice white. I know with small brushes, we typically pounce into one color and then go into our darker color, but this, I want to keep this nice white, and I want to keep this nice dark violet. So I double loaded this way. If y'all have painted a while, one stroke, you've all painted the wisteria. We have wisteria off of bushes, not bushes, but vines. We add them with our rose projects if you've done certification level 1. So this is painted the exact same way, but just with a little brush. So I have to do very little pouncing. And I'm going to pounce up because that's the way our flowers are going. So because of that, white is on the top, purple's on the bottom. So I'm just going to pounce. All I have to do is pounce like a little ball, like we do a center of a flower. That's as big as I'm going to get. And then I'm just going to come up. Now, and as I come up, I'm going to start angling this brush, and I'm pouncing on the side. So always get more paint. So and then I'm pouncing on my palette. With this small brush, all we have to do is pounce a little bit like this, like a center of a flower. There's our ball. And then as we start coming up, just angle off to the side and pounce on the side of your brush. And that gets you that little point. If it gets too blended, make sure you got nice separation of paint on your brush. And if it gets too muddy, you got to let it dry before you repounce. Let's put it on our project. And like I mentioned at the beginning, all of these flowers are at the tops of these little stems. So with that, I'm going to paint the first one right up here. And then just go straight up. It's a little straight point. Get more paint. So I'm going to do all these, the ones that I wanted at the top first. Get those situated in the project. And then this one. And then I just angle. Then I'll come off and do some of these other ones that are at the top. But can you see how cute these are already? Oh my gosh, I just fell in love with this. And when you see it, just as a picture, it didn't look all that cute. So now that's like the focus ones that I needed to do. So now we're just going to go into the bush and add. Now, I added a lot. You don't have to add that much. But I'm telling you, the bushes have this much. They have tons. And when they start dying off, I snip them because, like in that picture, that new one's going to start growing big before this one totally dies. So I'm always snipping off the dead flowers. So with that said, this was a stem right here. So I think I'm going to go ahead and add just one right there. I came down a little bit so it wouldn't get taller than this one. But I put one there. And then I could make up a stem like this one. This is going to be a makeup stem. And after I paint all of these, I can come back and add some, I'll be adding leaves and flowers. Like right here, I'll put another one. I'm just going around and just adding some of these little pouncy flowers. Now, if your brush gets too blended, and when I say clean, do not put it in water, just wipe it off. Because with the scruffy brush, we always use a dry brush to paint. And if the shape gets a little weird, don't worry about it, because there's so many. Now this one I'm going to start moving over. Turn that one a little bit. All I did was I just angled it a little bit. And there the green was still wet. So it got a little bit green. Okay. Okay, I think that's good for this. Good. I'm not going to clean my brush yet because there's something I'm going to do. I'll show you after I do the leaves. So now I'm going to come back. I got my number 8. I'm going to look and see where can I add stems or leaves. For example, this one. The stem is okay, but it needs some leaves around it. So I'm going to right here add a couple little leaves. Now, I'm purposely not going to do on this side right now because I don't want to mess up that one. I like that where it is. So I'll show you later what we'll do for that spot. And let me add one here. But then I need some going this direction. You know, you don't want them all going in the same direction. I guess I am going to have to touch him. I have no choice. Okay. Put another one up here at the top. And these need leaves at the top. And this is a bush, so just angle the leaves the best you can. This one needs a stem, so with dark green, I'm bringing down a stem. That one needs a stem. If they need stems, I'm just painting on the chisel edge, dark green on my brush. Just making some stems. Now I'm just going to add a little bit of greenness right there. You could even, if you needed to, is go back to a number 6 brush and make more leaves. But I'll show you what I did on this one. So I think that's good enough. Just added some more greenery. I'll put something right there. Okay, so take a step back and see. And what we'll do, shadow leaves right there, and that will take care of that one. Okay, I really wish this was dry before I went to the next step, but I don't want to use like the blow dry or anything. This even if my purple gets smeared a little bit, it's okay as long as you're learning. But if this was you at home, make sure that it's dry. I can blow it a little bit and see if that helps some. But what I did with the mini scruffy is the same process that you would do with your 3/4 inch as you're painting wisteria. It's a little trickier in the sense that it's bigger, but just follow the pattern. You paint a ball and then just keep pouncing down, and it's like the shape of a tornado. And the end of the big one is the same way how I ended this one. I pounced on the side of my brush. And what is the side of the brush? I'll do it like right here. It's like this. This is pouncing full face, and then this is pouncing on the side. So I'm just touching. But I'm still pouncing, but I'm touching just the side. Okay. So let me add some green shadow leaves in the background, because like I mentioned, this bush is real dense, and so we want to add some green in the back. I'm just getting some of that green floating medium that we had, just a little bit, because I having my smaller brush. So now I'm just going to add some little touches, and it's floating medium, so it's very light, very watery, and I'm just going back into the floating medium and just touching and adding some little spaces right here. I'm just darkening this up. This is just an easy way to add some more color. Okay, then I'm going to take the same floating medium and then add some what we call shadow leaves. Need it a little darker here. I'm just going to add shadow leaves throughout this bush. I want this one a little darker, so let me do that. There we go. I was thinking, I did. I am so sorry. I probably had my plate in front. Okay, so let me go back. I got floating medium and green, and I'm just adding some shadow leaves in the background here. Just where I want some denseness right here. And this is where I don't know if this was off camera too, but I just pounced some color using my chisel edge, pounced some floating medium right there. Okay, I'm going to add a little floating leaf right here behind that wisteria right here. Okay, so there's I think my bush. I like it, but what I want to do is in some of these bigger green spots, just lightly pounce. I still got my scruffy. I am lightly pouncing just a little touches of purple. To me gives the illusion that it's the bush, these blossoms on the other side of the bush. You know, a little bit of purple's popping out. And so I'm just going to just gently, a little bit, going around. Always step back. Make sure you don't have all your color on one side. Just go and add a little bit. Okay. Now the last thing I did was the ground. And I'm going to go back to my number 12. I got to wipe it off real quick. So I had just put it in the water on the side of our brush basin that has those notches, because what that did was kept my brush moist, and the notches keep the bristles from touching the bottom of the brush basin. If you haven't seen that, not everybody has these. Like this one's my 3/4 inch. If you can see, it's just down in there, but it's not touching the bottom. So the bristles aren't getting smashed or distorted. Okay. So I'm just going to get, I am going to double load. I'm going to double load into the two greens. This is okay. Then my brush is at an angle. If this is my surface right here, my brush is going to be at an angle like that. And let me do it this way. It's not, this would be if I was doing chisel edge, so it's like this at an angle. And what I'm going to do is very lightly hold my brush and let it skim across the bottom. I'm getting this look, and this is how I do that. I'm holding my brush, and I angled it so it's easier for it to move this way, and then I'm just going to skim. I'm just letting it skim, and when I go back this way, I get the light green, so it's skimming this way. I need a lot more paint. I added little skimming marks here. Okay. Yeah, make sure you have enough paint so it skims. Good. Okay. Then I'm going to wipe that brush off, and I'm going to go into purple, just purple, not white. Get that. And then I'm going to let some purple skim in here. Sort of like the blossoms have fallen. Or it could even be reflection of the sun. Okay. Fix that up a little bit. You want it straight. And you could go all the way down if you'd like. I sort of wanted the background to come through like this. And then that other one that I painted with the smaller brush, I actually floated a lot of green down here and then just skimmed a little bit on top. So the looks are different. It's just this has more skimming. This has even less. The blue really got light down here, and I really would have liked more blue down here, but I love the top. Oh, and this is the one that I had, oh no, this is the one I had painted. It's drying, so it's not as pretty as you can make it, but what you could do to fix it is just get some more floating medium. Let me do that here. I got a little more blue floating medium and just go back and forth. See, we can just fix it. If this happens to you, it works okay. You just go back and forth. But, oh, this was my sample that I just painted. And wouldn't it be cute to have some little butterflies flying around? So all right, well, that's it. Let me, before I...